Oh, oh.
Free roam.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Damn. Welcome back, everyone.
Good to be back. It's been too
It
long.
is. Been way too long. But I've been traveling the world, man. I've been going to Ibiza. Oh, I'm
Ooh,
going to a party.
nice.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So did that. Then the previous weekend I had a festival with bands and saw some cool live music, and I stayed on a camping, and I probably should have slept more. So I'm recovering. That's basically where
You're
I'm
in
at
recovery mode.
in my recovery mode. And then I'm like, I come back, and the house is on fire. The gaming industry is dying, Luke.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Xbox is dead again for the 15th time, and the industry is exploding for the 14th time. And yeah, we'll go through quick little recap. There are some newer developments. Don't worry, we're not going to just rehash everything. If you missed the earlier stream, we have some stuff to talk about with Fallout.
Woo!
With Ubisoft. I didn't even get to this in the previous stream, but with
Uh-oh.
Ubisoft, there's they're actually going to make an appearance at an upcoming show that is
Oh my
a little
God.
surprising. We're going to talk about the broader industry, and I want to rage about IGN's incompetence more. So kind of a standard day.
Or is it Mafia's incompetence?
It's IGN. It's
Oh.
IGN. But it's actually kind of funny. Because anytime we talk about this stuff, and I guess we could just shift straight forward into that because there's no way to
Yeah, that's fair.
covertly talk about this.
Let's do it,
Basically,
let's do it.
in case anybody missed it, IGN got the first access to showcase gameplay of Mafia. Cool opportunity. They got 9 minutes of it, and again, they are the exclusive ones that get the uncut or unedited, I guess, gameplay to show. And in the first opening moments, it's fine. There's nothing really to write home about. But it's once they start driving and there's high motion and stuff that it became really clear. I currently have this set at 4K, and I'm going to go full screen for those watching at home. If you're listening on Spotify, you should absolutely give us a rating, by the way. But if you're listening, I will just describe what I'm seeing. I am seeing a screen of goo, blurry nonsense. It is compressed out the ever-loving ass, and it looks terrible. Now, this is far from new.
Did they record it themselves? That is my question. I think 2K sent them this footage.
2K sent them footage, but IGN did not upload the raw footage that 2K gave them. How we know that is because there is a massive logo in the bottom right. And 2K also uploaded this same footage to other platforms just in little snippets. And so we actually got Mafia game videos clipping some of those other sources and cutting these like little side-by-side snippets where you can see, it's going to be compressed on stream. So I recommend you look it up yourself at home. But you can specifically see like in the ground, in the pebbles, everything behind him, you have that detail retained in the source footage that they posted to their social media. But if you go over to the IGN version, it's compressed so much, it's just kind of a gray, blurry blob. And it's true pretty much anywhere you look in the frame, the IGN footage is crazy compressed and very, very blurry, even when it's set to 4K. And how we know that this is a compression issue beyond just, IGN having a history of these mistakes and problems is if you go onto their actual logo, even though this is set to 4K, their own logo is exhibiting the same artifacting as the rest of the video. So what happened is they got the full high quality footage from 2K. Some idiot went and put it in a Premiere Pro or, let's be real, iMovie timeline. And then they put the logo and they exported it at whatever crappy default settings. And then they re-uploaded it. And it compressed their own logo to the point where it even looks like it's been covered in Vaseline and is smeared. Like, it looks terrible. And they put this out, and what drives me craziest about this, I mean, we talked about Mafia, the footage and everything, which we can get to in a second. But the reason I bring this up and I hammer home about it so often is because IGN's done this repeatedly. Like, I've talked about this on stream. It feels like for like 2 years straight. This is far from the first time. They had their hilariously awful Arc Raiders preview where the production quality was also abysmally low.
But they recorded that themselves. But yeah, I remember that. That was like that was like not even 60 FPS. They had like a very weird.
Yeah.
What was the frame rate on that?
The video is capped at 50 frames.
Yeah,
they somehow exported the video at 50 frames. And I get it if you're playing the game on a potato, like not everybody has a nice supercomputer, but this is an official preview video going up on a 19 million sub channel. So I feel like it's totally fair to bring this up and to call them out for it. They should have higher production standards, in my opinion. They should have higher standards, or any standard, frankly. The fact that there's so much inconsistency is crazy. And if somebody didn't know better, because you got to remember, not everybody is terminally online talking about video games all day. Somebody might look at this preview and think that this is what Arc Raiders looks like. Think that this is just how the game runs. This is just how it looks. When in reality, they just happen to be running it at like on a handheld, basically at super, super low settings. And the same thing with Mafia. People may look at this, and I remember we looked at it on stream and people were complaining that it looked like it was really blurry. And it's like when you see the uncompressed out the ass footage, it looks significantly better. But it's IGN's incompetence that can actually make these games look worse than they actually are. And then even then it introduces another layer too, where like say a frame drops in a section of this gameplay. We don't know if that's IGN's crappy encoding or if that's actually the game. Like it fractures the integrity of the reporting and the presentation of what they're showing to the point where it's basically it really makes it difficult to talk about it in any meaningful way. Because anytime you bring up, so it looks like maybe there's some upscaling artifacting. I don't know. They covered the whole screen in bacon grease. Like you can't tell. All the details lost. So I'm going to keep making fun of them because this is a 19 million sub channel with millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of funding behind them. They could send out gaming laptops to all of their staff if they wanted to, and it would be fine. They could do that. But instead, they're letting them do this. And there's no like quality standard enforcement or anything. And I heard from somebody that historic or has some experience with IGN stuff. And it sounds like this is a problem that's been present for a long time and has frustrated many, many people, even within the organization. But it's more of a management problem. So,
but at least we know the game looks better than IGN makes it out to be in terms of graphics. That is the skip drive. Why is that in the game? Why can I skip my driving?
I think and I don't know, so I want to be clear. What Jor's alluding to, let me just show you people at home in case you didn't see the segment we did. There is an option to hold down left on D-pad when you're in these driving sections that they show to skip the drive and get straight to the location, which is 1.8 kilometers away. I think this is primarily because there's nobody in the car with you talking. I'm trying to recall if this was a thing in Mafia 3 as well, where you can basically just skip the dialogue and skip straight to the destination on those like kind of they're not quite trailing missions, but you're riding with someone and then there's some exposition and dialogue that goes on, so it's nothing crazy new. I believe it was in previous ones. RC says you can do it, and it's just
like a very I guess
too bad I didn't have one. No,
skip game.
Skip game.
No, but I mean the gameplay. I think the setting is awesome. They really nailed the setting. It looks great graphically. If you're not watching it on IGN, and it is what I expected. The gameplay. It's nothing special. It's I really think the story is gonna be insanely important for this to really hit home, because otherwise, yeah, it feels like a game you've already played many times, but then in a cool Italian setting.
Yeah, I mean, the one immediate thing I have to compliment them on that from the outset was just stellar is the voice acting. The voice acting performances are all very top notch. I mean, it's hard to poke a hole in any of it. It's very well executed, and that was true of the last Mafia games, even Mafia 3, which we all kind of meme on and joke about. It's still true here. It's just very well done. There have been some people are calling them graphical downgrades. Others are saying graphical, like artistic changes, lighting changes, and things. Could be time of day. I don't know. My understanding is that this is linear, so there's not like a day and night cycle. But this is an example, just to bring this up. And for those listening, basically what we see is the original teaser trailer, a section that takes place, I believe, it looks like in a tent, and where you can see Enzo standing there, and there's some backlighting, and the skin tones are a little bit lighter, and all of that. The hair also drops in front of his forehead, and his eyes a bit more. His hair is a good bit longer. And then in the IGN gameplay footage that they revealed, it's much more pomaded, coiffed back, dare I say. And so people are saying that this is a bit of a downgrade. I personally, I greatly prefer the look of the hair on the top version, the original version, as opposed to this. But, you know, it's fine. Oh, my babe brought me food. Wow.
Nice.
Thank you. Oh, and she's wearing her Pluto shirt. Romeo's in the...
And dancing.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson if he got like really fat, really young.
You don't
Like,
look like a fat Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That's not true. That's not what you look at. Thank you.
Is puppy still in the garage?
He is on the his doggy run.
And he's staying?
He's staying there. It's if people are in the backyard, he tries to break out, but you can see.
I was about to let him out. Cool. Oh, good. I'm glad.
Well, he's gone. He might have gotten out. He might be in his house, but he's not there. Oh no, he's back there. He's back there. He's eating a stick.
Okay. Does he have food?
Yes. Okay. Much love. Thank you.
Well, Luke has food too. Well, we're good. We're good.
We're good.
All is good, everyone.
Yeah, everybody's got food. It's all good.
Yeah, everybody's got food.
I swear to God, guys, I don't get McDonald's that often. Like, we really don't. It just happens to be like she comes and surprises me with it on stream. So people are like, oh, here we go again.
Like, yeah.
I swear, it's not a super common thing. But I don't know. What do you think of this, George? Do you see this as like a downgrade? That's
I don't know. It's nonsense. I would say a downgrade is like I was looking at graphically. This just looks like an artistic choice that they changed it for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it didn't make sense for him to have that hair because it seems like an early part of the game, right? So yeah, I don't know. It is kind of weird that in the tease trailer he had different hair, but to call it a downgrade, I think it's subjective. So
yeah, I could see that. I think the big thing where like I don't want to pull a Siri face swap kind of conspiracy like some people have done. I don't see this as that because like the lighting has changed significantly. The hair obviously has changed. The hair is not the same in these two.
yeah.
As is like you can see he's got a rifle on his shoulder in one versus the other. But
Isn't that like a pre-order hairstyle or something? The one
that's
one
kind
has
of
that
what I'm
unlocked.
wondering. Like maybe it's a different cosmetic choice. It might be something
Yeah.
where like in the base you can put pomade in your hair versus not. Like
Yeah.
we just don't know. We don't know.
No.
But the lighting has changed. It's way warmer. This is like candlelight later at night, it seems, whereas this was done maybe with the quest set earlier in the evening where there's still some softer light. I don't know. It is hard to kind of gauge, but I don't know. To me, the hair feels like a step down, but maybe it's just because I
Yeah.
like the rough hair.
Yeah, but I think he still has that in other parts, probably, right? So yeah, we will see. We don't have all the answers, but I don't think that's the biggest thing. To me, I think it's good that they posted the gameplay at least to get people more of a sense for the game because it felt like they were hiding stuff, especially with that Summer Game Fest trailer that was not even gameplay and showing the same scenes we'd already seen, but better looking because they were pure cinematic. So I'm happy that they're showing 9 minutes of raw gameplay, even though during the driving section it's like later.
Yeah.
It was not fun enough to
What-
watch him
And
drive all the way.
they had a few moments where like you walk in the room, there's a line of dialogue, Enzo, good to see you. And then it just cuts to, and Isabella, she needs help. So they were cutting stuff out, I think for spoiler reasons, but either way, it was like a little jarring. If you weren't paying attention, you might not notice it. But if you were, it was like, that didn't make sense. Those sentences did not connect, but it's because they were cutting it up. This is another point where people have alleged downgrade. Let me know what you think. Do you think this looks like a downgrade?
Let me see. I have to catch up with
The left is the teaser.
Ooh, yeah.
That to me feels like a step down.
Yeah, but again, is it the time of day? Does it impact the cutscenes?
I don't know if there even is a
linear
time
game
of day.
like
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know, man.
No, it does feel like a downgrade. This is like yeah.
Yeah.
But his hair is different too. Again, there are
It's just the
maybe
hair. What
things
if
we
the whole
don't-
thing is
Yeah.
for us? It's just the hair. They swap the hair back. We're like, see, they fixed it. I don't know. Maybe we just like long hair. Because again, like Jor's saying, the lighting is different in this shot. The sunlight's coming in. It looks like they set it during the sunset, so it's coming in, lighting everything very warmly. Whereas in this case, it's much cooler. You could say that this is more of like an artistic shift and change. In terms of like actual fidelity levels, again, this is taken from the IGN footage. They didn't provide in like a high fidelity version of this. So it's not really fair to compare like texture quality or things like with the skin and freckles and things because we just don't have the high quality version. But again,
I think
I
this
like
is
the
all
rough
stuff
hair
that we're talking about now, but it won't matter in a few weeks because the game is out in a few weeks, in a month. That's crazy
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that.
I think.
But I think after this footage, we can make a Metacritic prediction. But first, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to go back to what you said, which I totally agree with, which is just simply that this preview or this gameplay drop was intended to just give people an idea of what they're doing with the game, of what it's going to be. And I think for Mafia fans, they see a Mafia game. For better or worse, they see a Mafia game. To me, that's exciting because I like Mafia games and I understand like I'm willing to put up with gameplay clunkiness because the stories have historically been so good that it's kind of worth putting up with clunky stealth or kind of clunky driving and things because, you know, the story is that good. But if somebody's going into this wanting like Uncharted 4, they're going to be disappointed, just like they would be disappointed if they tried to play Definitive Edition of Mafia and they would find that lacking. So to me, it was encouraging to see that it looks like a Mafia game. It looks compelling. The key thing for me, which was like voice performances, the writing and all of that, I see a lot of very encouraging signs there. It all looks really good from what we can see. But I also think that this didn't really answer hardly any questions about like scope, scale, and length. Are you still sticking to your very short
6
estimation?
hours, 7 hours. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, as time has gone on.
I mean, and if you skip the driving, 5 hours.
Oh yeah, no. If you skip the driving, yeah, you'll trim a lot of time off. No doubt about that. The more I've seen, the more I'm starting to think that I think you're definitely much closer to right than wrong. Like I don't think that they're going to casually drop like a 20-hour game. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. I think if we hit 10, that'll be like a W. But I do think it's going to be a good bit shorter and leaner than expected, because I think if it was bigger they would have done previews and stuff and they like
Same. Yeah, because if you play 3 hours, you're likely well into the game. To be fair though, I do see them, I don't want to say like cut corners, but you do see them the regular conversations they have with the NPCs and stuff. It's not like all motion capture scenes, so maybe they can extend it longer. But I do think they also know that I really see that they have multiple blocks. They have the combat stealth sections, they have the driving the vehicle sections, and they have the more linear let's walk through a cool environment sections. And I think they're gonna just place them in the cool orders too, so it will get varied enough. And you have the boss battle sections, the one where you enter an arena with a guy facing you.
Yeah.
They're gonna make sure that those are placed in a good order with hopefully a good story that goes through that game. And I do think that at one point it might even hurt the game if they would extend it to 8 hours if you're doing the same thing over and over. Like, I'm really curious what the progression will be in this game, because you could already pick up quite some weapons in this section, but yeah, it will still be sneaking around, yeah, using your knife, throwing a knife. Like, what will the Enzo at the start of the game not be able to do that the one will be able to do at the end? Like, what is the progression there? I'm curious about that. But
I mean, if it plays similarly to Definitive Edition, there's not there's not a whole lot of progression. It's all set up in a very linear way. So like you might unlock the Tommy gun, and the Tommy gun is available to you in this mission, but not in previous ones. And I think it's going to be something kind of like that. I don't think this is going to have a lot of like these kind of lightweight RPG systems or anything like that. I think it's going to play probably much closer to Definitive Edition than anybody realizes. I mean, there's also a lot of things they're doing that are very similar to Mafia 2. So, but I mean, at the core, it seems like they're going back to basics. This is not trying to be a big open world adventure game. This is not trying to be sort of this grand epic game. It's trying to be kind of a tighter, linear story game with a beautiful setting and everything. But I think you're right. Like, there's going to be sections. I think we see one actually, like in this one where you're following Luca around the villa and you're just walking around as he points out different things, and there's some dialogue that goes back and forth. And I guess there's multiple sections, probably a half dozen at least, where follow Isabella as she walks through the vineyard, and you just walk with Isabella as dialogue plays out. I think that that's a good chunk of how the story is communicated. And again, it's a Mafia game. And so some people are going to love it. Some people are going to be like, this sucks and is boring. It just depends on your tastes, And if the
I think if
good.
I think that's kind of the thing where I'm mostly coming from. I hope that in 2025 a new Mafia game would also introduce some new elements, and I'm not really seeing that here, apart from it just being in a cool setting. So
sure, I think that's fair.
That is,
if you're hoping for some like really new and crazy, it doesn't really seem like there's much of anything here that we've not seen before. So that's probably what really prevents like the Metacritic from being particularly high. Even if the story's amazing, it's just more Mafia.
I think an 8 would be very generous, I think, already looking at this.
Yeah, I think the people that really love the story, I could see, old school Mafia fans, let's assume for a second that the story's phenomenal and performances are great and all that, blah, blah, blah. Big assumption to make, sure, but let's just say that. Even in that case, I think the highest it goes like, 8.5, 9, just because of some of the other stuff we're seeing. Like, for example, right here, I can pull up this little snippet. This was one of the points where I grew a little concerned that they were fording through some of it so quickly. The camera pans here and frames start to drop pretty aggressively. And again, is it IGN or is it actually the game? Is it like, I'm guessing it's the game, because poor encoding will cause the quality of the render to be poor. It won't just magically get rid of frames unless something's very wrong. But I think, seeing frame drops like that in a fairly unassuming cutscene that they chose to release also gives me pause. It makes me wonder, is this going to be a thing? It also has the telltale problem with Unreal Engine games where when it switches cameras, it holds for a frame on each and every time the camera switches. So there's just like a little bitty almost stutter every time they switch camera angles as the temporal stuff recalculates everything. So I think, it's, as I'm looking at it, I think it's one of those games that best case scenario gets like a B+. More likely, I think the consensus is going to land in that like C+, B- range, high 70s, low 80s. And I'm saying that as somebody that really hopes this is amazing. But if Mafia games, just because the Metacritic is at like an 8 out of 10, 82 out of 100, whatever it may be, you may still get 10 out of 10 enjoyment out of it if the story's good enough. It's just literally about whether you how much weight you put into the story versus into the gameplay, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's hope it delivers on that. I'm gonna say 74 Metacritic.
74. Well, this is the time everybody in chat put your Metacritic predictions in chat.
I already saw some.
You did?
Yeah, they were higher.
Let's see. $50 for a 10-hour game is DOA from me. Oh, really? Okay. What about the booba section? I don't know. That's a great question, Daniel. Are there booba sections? I don't know. Need to play Mafia Definitive Edition today. Just started the darn thing. Red Dead Online won't let me go. Oh, it's got its claws in you. So Rogue says 79 to 82. Captain says 79. Outsider Jess 75. Andrew 6. 53 Nights 69. Giggity. David 79. RS 82. Just Gimmicks 62. Shadow Wolf 79. I mean, a lot of like high 70s scores. A lot of high 70s.
I think that makes sense. I was actually looking at the Metacritics for the other Mafia games after I made my prediction, to be fair. And yeah, it's 87 is the highest, and that's for the Definitive Edition. So Mafia 2 was 74. Mafia 3, 68.
Yeah. Is 2, are you looking at the remaster of 2, or are you looking at the original score for 2?
The original 360.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the remaster. I'm not
the
sure.
The remaster was broken as hell.
Oh, okay. No. This it doesn't even have its own page, because it was like part of the like a collection, right, or not? Like with Mafia 3.
Oh yeah, that might have been where it initially came out. Yeah. I don't. If I had to put a number to it, I'll be optimistic. I'm gonna say like 81. I hope it's higher, but I just think, to a certain extent, when you come out and you're trying to fight in like the arena of Metacritic and review scores and everything, if you're coming out and you're not really doing anything crazy, original, or new, you're perceived as playing it very safe, and that already is usually a ding, because people want to reward the most exciting stuff. I think also it's almost certainly going to be quite short. I mean, the highest end we're talking, all of us, even the hardcore Mafia fans, are like, high end, it's probably like 10 to 12. Like, some people are saying maybe 15, but I don't think this is going to be a big, massive game. I personally don't mind that. I'd rather a really lean 8 hours than a bloated 15. I think Mafia 3 is a great example of why that's important, is to avoid bloat. Yeah. Gameplay hours does not mean gameplay quality, but I think, doing original things, being kind of really ambitious, does get rewarded, and playing it safe gets penalized often. And in the case of what we're seeing, I'm seeing gameplay that's not like bad. I'm just seeing the same stuff we've seen before. And, hopefully it just does well enough that they can get greenlit for the big budget for the next big Mafia project. Because this still feels like one of those definitive edition size projects,
I think that is gonna be the $1 million question. Do they? Like, what is 2K? What do they need to see in terms of sales? I mean, in the end, it's all about that they give them the 5 years to make a Mafia, like a real big Mafia game.
I think the fact that they've not marketed it very much at all, hopefully, fingers crossed, means that they're saving money on the marketing side, the marketing budget, and they're also therefore keeping expectations in check. Like, if they were marketing this like they're marketing Borderlands, of course that indicates expectations are crazy high for how that needs to do. But the fact that this is like, they're getting an IGN video put out that looks like crap, but they're putting that out, and then they have like their Twitter page, but other than that, they're not doing, like, as far as I'm aware,
gonna do like the pre-rolls on YouTube or something around launch and on Twitch. I think that's their biggest marketing budget.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very lean, and I've said a lot. I think some companies like Ubisoft, I've told literal Ubisoft employees in the marketing department this. I think they spend way too much money promoting some of their games. Like, and I think you can see it doesn't work. Like Star Wars Outlaws, I think they said was their most expensive game ever in terms of marketing.
Marketing, yeah.
Their most expensive marketing budget ever. And that pretty
Way
clearly
too much.
didn't help. It didn't make that much of a difference. It cannot an okay game. It cannot turn an okay game into a 10 million copy selling, behemoth just because you spent more on whatever, sponsored TikToks or whatever. So I think that hopefully they're just saving money there. That lowers the bar and makes it easier to turn a profit. And it's just they're relying on the core fan base to play it and enjoy it. But we'll see. We'll see. It's crazy. It's only a month out.
Did you know that Mafia 3 was the fastest selling 2K game ever when it came out?
Ooh, I did not know that.
Mafia 3 was huge. Like, what happened was mostly because they were very cagey about that too. Not letting people play it, etc. But like everyone was like, "Oh, new Mafia," and it looked pretty good, like in the trailers and stuff. Because it kind of gave that GTA vibe more. They of course were going more open world. 4.5 million copies shipped in the first week. That's huge.
Jesus, dude, 4.5 million.
But that was where it ended. So it was like a huge. Everyone bought it, and then
no tail.
The kind of word of mouth. Yeah, it was no tail at all. But it did end up selling. It did end up selling 7 million in as of 2020. But of course with steep discounts, etc. But it does show you that the series is huge.
That's crazy, dude.
Like people want it. So
I mentioned this. When I was at that Borderlands 4 like preview thing, we're in the 2K offices, and like literally we were in, I think, hangar 9. Like hangar 13 is over there. Like we're like in the center of it. And at one point we were waiting for like the game director of Borderlands to come down, and so they could start the presentation. Then we go play the game. So we're just like sitting around this like U-shaped, horseshoe-shaped table, and we're all just kind of sitting, waiting. And then the 2K marketing guy is like, "So, you guys excited for any games?" Everybody instantly, Mafia. Yeah, really excited for Mafia. And those were Borderlands creators. Very nice people. I hadn't heard of any of them yet at that point, but very nice guys. And so these are not like generalists who play everything. Like these were just fans of Borderlands, but they were all like, "Yeah, Mafia." One of them said,
but they were like in the 2K office. They were like, "Okay, I love Borderlands, so that's an obvious. What's the other game?"
Yeah, GTA. Can you get me GTA?
Yeah. Oh, that's not 2K. That's Take-Two. Okay.
Crap.
BioShock. Oh, that's not announced yet. What's the other game called from the maker? Judas.
Judas. Excited for that.
Okay, that's interesting. Like, it is a very mainstream game, for sure. And maybe they're banking on that name. And yeah, it has been a while. That's 9 years since the last Mafia game.
To be clear, everybody, yes, they may have just been trying to stroke egos. But this was, he asked, I think it was specifically any games you guys are excited about through like the end of the summer, or what's your summer game or something like that. One guy did say
from around August 10th.
Yeah, roughly give or take a week. Yeah, but I mean, I've heard a similar sentiment from my, anecdotally from my friend group that play a lot of different types of games, like extraction shooters and stuff. But a lot of us have played Mafia games going back into our childhoods, and so the idea that there's a new one is exciting, and hopefully it doesn't get screwed.
But I can see this going the BioWare Dragon Age route as well, where it's like, yeah, we expected X amount of millions and it did not do that, and the reviews are
Yeah.
So Hangar 13, you had your chance. The definitive edition, that was great, but yeah, that was like a small thing. You guys had 9 years to finally release a new game. We gave you the time, and yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, okay, we have GTA Online, like GTA 6 and GTA Online by that point. Do we really need to invest in another urban? Yeah, even though we all know it's different. Yeah. At one point, I mean, that's like kind of to segue into the Xbox thing. That is kind of what happened with Xbox, right? It's like Perfect Dark. Okay, we need 2 more years. But how many millions will we be in? How are we going to get that money back?
Yeah. Is there any
it's not gonna happen.
possibility that we break even? No?
Exactly.
Okay, then we won't do it. Like,
Yeah, so if this Mafia game is not like if it's not profitable in the first week, I think we're gonna have a problem. But I do think it's possible because it does look like again, we talked about it before, how they were working on a big live service superhero PvP kind of game after Mafia 3 that I think at the end of 2021 got cancelled. Then in 2022, I think they announced that they were doing new Mafia stuff. So this game has been in development for 3 years, which is not a long time for a AAA game. Yeah, in this day and age. So I do think the budget is 100 million, something like that. If they get the marketing down, $50 they have to sell 2 million to get a profit out of it. I think it's possible, but again, it's a hard business. And do they then look at it from, okay, 5 years to keep all these people employed, to have a chance to get another Mafia game out that will hopefully do better? We saw Mafia 3 did not do well when we tried to expand it. So what is going to be the next step? I think it's going to be fascinating, but I hope,
Yeah.
of course, that they get to make
it's
a
also a
big
matter of
one
like
too. But
how like what the tolerances for long-term performance, because they'll have a total break even point for sure, but do you need to sell and break even within the first month? Do you need to break even within 6 months or a year? Like, because if they say, yeah, you have a year to break even, okay, well, they're not going to sit around on their hands sitting on their hands for a year. They're going to start working on something else, like a sequel or DLC or something. And so then that also represents added cost, and so there's a lot of moving parts to it. My hope is that it's solid enough that Mafia fans come together and can enjoy it and get another Mafia fix. Because games like Mafia are really nice to have in the industry. Games that are just really solid narratives that are not trying to be the biggest, craziest open world game. Like, just really good stories in a very underrepresented setting, typically. So,
100%. And yeah, we're losing the single player games, I mean, left and right. So
yeah.
having to lose a series like this, because I don't think 2K is going to give it to another studio there.
Probably
They
not.
already tried that with Hangar 13. So
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe they'll get greenlit for a Mafia extraction shooter. You never know. That being said, this Xbox stuff, because we've been talking about this, I think the Xbox layoffs and everything represent a really fascinating shift in the industry more generally. Things are changing. And I mean, we've known that for a while. 3-4 years ago, everything's going digital only, so physical media is going to disappear, and that certainly is happening. But then things have also continued to shift, and now with like Microsoft, they are allegedly insisting on Copilot AI tools being used in all of their subsidiaries. Their VP of product development, I think it was, said she wants to mandate AI usage in performance reviews. So when you are getting your performance review done, working at like Halo Studios, for example, if you do not use Copilot or one of their other AI tools enough, that is a ding on your report card, basically. And that could be enough to get you fired if you're not using their AI tools enough. Like, crazy.
what Black Mirror episode are we in?
Yeah, like, and they
That's crazy.
also want to use AI tools to even at some point perform performance evaluations through the AI agent instead of having an actual human manager do it, because the AI agent is, I think the word or the verbiage they used was, the AI agent is level-headed more than a human can be, which basically just means it's not human, so it has no feelings. So it'll fire you regardless of whatever your personal sob story is. It'll just get rid of you. And they love that idea. So this whole thing is shifting and changing, and Microsoft's, they laid off 9,000 people. A bunch of people within the studios were laid off at various places. Some entire studios were shut down. But why don't you catch us up on some of what's happened in the aftermath of all of this?
Yeah, so we learned some more about the 3 games that were outright canceled that we know about, but yeah, seemingly there were more that were not even announced. Everwild, of course, got canceled. Yeah, that's the Rare's attempt at making something else than Sea of Thieves. We saw that, I think, at 2020's Xbox showcase, like when they revealed the Series X. If I'm not mistaken, maybe we saw it a little later, but it then disappeared and we never heard of it. But then Phil Spencer said earlier this year, I saw Everwild and it's now one of my most anticipated games. So I canceled it.
Yeah.
A few months later. Great job, man.
Which is also it's I guess you're probably about to mention the ZeniMax Online game.
Oh yeah,
because something similar happened there too.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think because of course the other game is Perfect Dark and the other game is the ZeniMax Online title. So we actually learned a bit more about that ZeniMax Online game. They of course have Elder Scrolls Online. Did you know? Like, did you read that Bloomberg article from Jason that game crossed the 2 billion revenue mark? That's insane, man. That's
2
crazy.
billion in revenue. It has been around for a decade or whatever it's been.
Is that more than Skyrim? You think?
Well,
It
in
might
terms
be,
of
right?
Revenue, probably. I don't know
Yeah.
though, like how much profit it's
Profit.
generating though, because ZeniMax Online is also like a pretty
Huge.
big studio too.
Yeah, and they've been like putting out DLCs, etc. But 2 billion is insane. Like for comparison, I think Ubisoft announced that in 2 years ago, like in 10 years, I think they made 3 billion on Assassin's Creed. So that's with all the games they put out. 3 billion revenue, and Elder Scrolls Online 2 billion one game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that always just shows you like they want a game like that. But yeah, they were internally working on another live service type game too. So first they need to they were already prototyping this for a long time. We've been hearing about this game for a very long time, but we did not really know a lot about it. But it seemingly was a alien noir themed third person shooter, kind of a blend of Destiny, Blade Runner, and Horizon, as in like the tech and stuff. And that's like some cool movement things. They made a vertical slice earlier this year, and that's what you were alluding to. Phil Spencer got the hands on the controller, and Matt Booty had to rush into the meeting room. Dude, we gotta go. And Phil Spencer was like, I'm addicted. I need to play more. So let's cancel it. No, but what we heard later on is that they were still pretty early. They really had to go like for 4 years of development, or like it was like 2028 is when they wanted to hopefully put it out. So I think they looked at that as well and they were like, yeah, it's a cool looking game, but we don't know what the industry looks like then. It's another one of those looter shooters. Look at the graveyard of all the looter shooters. Only Destiny and maybe The Division came out pretty well, but again, they're struggling in their own way now too.
Well, and I think so. I mean, the obvious joke was we were reading the initial description of it, the text description, where it was like it was a third person looter shooter game with a focus on verticality of movement and some abilities that would make players feel like they were superheroes. And I was like, that sounds really familiar to another live service game that exploded. Suicide Squad. Didn't end too well. So, maybe this was going to be way, way better. That anecdote about Phil Spencer couldn't put the controller down. I also don't know if I put much much weight into that, because like that sentiment or that anecdote came from somebody at the studio who was in that meeting. And I mean, I've done stuff where there was
like
that one time. Yeah. Like there's been times where I'm playing a game and I'm like, I want to finish this level. I may think that the game sucks, but I'm like, hold on, let me finish it. No, Luke, we have to go. Set the controller down. It doesn't necessarily mean that like this was going to be game of the year, which is kind of what it was being kind of twisted into.
It was like playing the game or a meeting with Matt Booty. No, I'm going to play the game.
It's he's like, I have to talk to that guy again. Yeah, exactly. He's like, don't lock him out. But also, this is a major piece of it. Maybe I can pull up the actual Bloomberg article on it, ZeniMax Online, because one of the key points that has like really not been addressed too much in this whole discussion, specifically over the ZeniMax thing, has to do with a little tidbit later in the article I'm trying to pull up the archived version so that I can actually read it. But here, so let's see. A bunch of the people that were laid off, they didn't know what was happening to them. They haven't gotten their severance or anything because late last year, the staff had unionized, but they had not yet struck a contract. So Microsoft lawyers had to negotiate with the union over potential severance packages for those in the union that were losing their jobs. In the meantime, they continued getting their paychecks and remained ZeniMax employees. The union told staff on Thursday, QA staff who are in a separate union who do have an established contract were let go and received severance packages based on that union agreement. I think the shutdown of this project and the downsizing of ZeniMax is majorly influenced by the fact that they're unionized. I don't think it's a coincidence that they unionized last year and then they're like, oh, we need to fire people. Let's get rid of that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft does not like dealing with union stuff.
No.
I was always shocked that this existed, period. And historically, what they do is if a team or a company or a subsidiary or something tries to unionize, they just shut the whole thing down. Like I use the example from the Office television show where Jan walks in and the warehouse guys are talking about unionizing. And she says, if you try to do that, we're going to fire all of you and the branch will close. You all will not be able to buy your children Christmas presents. Think about it. Do you really want to do that? And it's a little segment in a comedy TV show, but that's, I think, exactly what was going on here. A union represents, collective bargaining ship for the employees. But for Microsoft, they look at it and they're like, so we're going to have to pay you more to work for 3 years. And then if that game takes off, you have scheduled like negotiated pay raises and benefits packages. This game all of a sudden becomes exponentially more expensive to make profitable. So we'll just get rid of you. And plus, I keep you. Other people may get the idea that they should unionize. They'll never say that they laid these people off because they formed a union, because that's like illegal. You can't just do that. But I think it may be for them a happy coincidence that the team that's getting major layoffs and the project that's getting shut down is one of the.
That sucks, man.
Is one of these.
Yeah,
so.
But you're probably right. Like that makes a lot of sense. And looking at how Microsoft has handled these layoffs, also the Romero games, we also got some extra info on that. So this is like a studio from like co-founder of id Software, and with his wife actually. So they were working on a new shooter, and the week before, or basically a week ago, Microsoft came to them. They were talking like business as usual, and a week later they cut the funding for the project without even telling them during the meeting they had the week before. So yeah, that just is crazy. It does seem that game is still, or is already like far in advance. So there might be another. I mean, they already, like, that was one of the recent updates we got, that publishers reached out and maybe they can get to a new agreement. Would be very funny if that game turned out to be a huge success, because that shows another incompetence of the leadership. But so that's another, like, that just shows you how this, of course, how this goes. And of course, we heard the stories too where you come to work, your Slack account suddenly doesn't work, and you're like, what? You don't know about any. You don't know what's going on. And
I think the risk for a video game developer specifically like this is that if somebody gets laid off and they become, the technical term is disgruntled, and they still have access to Teams and to the software and everything, they may take a build of the game, put it on a thumb drive, and take it in their pocket as they go home. Like, we just had a couple weeks ago a full build of Concord leaked from like November of 2023. And, it's very much a work in progress build, but that presumably was from a developer that just was like, I'm going to put this out into the universe, just uploaded it on archive.org or whatever. And now that little piece of that lives on the internet forever. But Microsoft doesn't want that to happen to any of these projects because it's their proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
Microsoft owns it. Even if it's not ever releasing, we own it. So they just don't tell anybody, shut off access to all of their tools, and say, sit and wait until we tell you if you have a job or not. Like, it's unfortunately how
It's
they do things.
crazy, but yeah, you kind of see what happens, or why that happens too. Yeah, that sucks. To kind of continue, we also heard that Forza Motorsport, like Turn 10, they of course have the Horizon studio, and yeah, Turn 10, who does the motorsport game, they laid off seemingly around the 70 people, so are like half of the developers that they were before, and are probably now just as a Horizon support studio.
Yeah.
And look, I like it all sucks, but it's not like, I mean, the Tango thing maybe made sense a bit too, because it was just a very like capable studio, like the Redfall guys going down, okay. But like Tango, they made like very high quality games, but also there it was like, okay, we're gonna have to spend 4 or 5 years of them working on Evil Within 3 and then hope it hits.
Well, and
I
also,
th- th-
I forget, I wish I could find the place I read it. It was like specifically an interview with somebody, like they had a source within ZeniMax, because what allegedly happened with that round of layoffs in whatever that was, early 2024, was it? I don't remember.
yeah, it
Anyway,
was slow. Yeah.
I think it was last year. But basically, the command came from like Satya, layoffs need to happen. Phil gives commands to each subsidiary. You find these people to lay off within your teams. And so ZeniMax was trying to select where to lay people off. And somebody within ZeniMax said that they wanted to lay off Tango because them being based in Japan was like a geographic challenge to manage and run that side of the business. So even, I mean, that definitely was a component where it's like, spend 3-4 years, it might hit, it might not. Like, they may make like pretty solid games, but who cares about solid games if they don't sell well and don't make enough money? So they just decided to cut the cord there and just
Yeah.
move on. But
Yeah, and that's what I feel with all these. Like, I looked at the Forza Motorsport. I think it was 6, the most recent one, right? Uh, it was 2023, and that game came and went. I remember the Forza Motorsport games being really big. They of course did a Motorsport and then Horizon, Motorsport Horizon. I think Motorsport at one point was bigger than Horizon, and then Horizon kind of exploded. But the most recent one, like, it did not do well at all. It failed to reach the top 20 retail charts in the UK the week it came out. Obviously, it was also on Game Pass for the first time, but I do think they looked at that. And do you know how many copies Forza Horizon 5 sold on PS5? 3 million.
oh wow,
It sold more than Assassin's Creed Shadows on PS5, according to data from those guys that have been like really nailing it. Alinea Analytics.
Jesus, dude.
And that's a 3-year-old game.
Yeah,
They made like $120 million on re-releasing that on PS5. So yeah, I do think we can all see where these decisions are coming from. It just sucks. Like, I really thought the Perfect Dark gameplay looked cool, and I like games like that. And then with Deus Ex also being gone now, we will not get those types of games seemingly anymore. So that really sucked. And I do think it really, the biggest thing for me is that Xbox promised at the start of the generation something. They promised you to bring quality, like AAA quality single player Sony level games, and they really were not able to make that a reality, because they came out with Fable and with Perfect Dark at that 2020, buy an Xbox Series X. I bought the Series X thinking that those games that were in that show, like just like with Sony, all the games that they showed there are released. You would think that when you show those games, they're like in the launch window, right? But yeah, Perfect Dark still being 2 years away. Like, they did not even mention it, of course, during the recent Xbox showcase. They mentioned all these games that are coming out next year. So then you were like, okay, it's gonna be 2027. That's a long time. And yeah, of course, it was mismanaged, the whole initiative project where they first were like the quadruple A studio, it's gonna be their Naughty Dog. And then they brought in Crystal Dynamics. And I'm also curious what is gonna happen with Crystal Dynamics. I think they had 100 people working on Perfect Dark. They're doing Tomb Raider as well, but I can see them having to lay off people too. It's a shit show basically, and I think it sucks that Xbox just did a lot of 180s during this generation. That usually you buy a console with a promise, and they just did not deliver on that at all.
Yeah, I mean it's the approach. It's also something Bethesda did in 2018, where they're like, we're just going to reveal everything we've even thought about making. we're not saying we're making it. We're just thinking about it. We're going to show everything, and it's to get customers excited, but also investors excited, and it's to try and attract like talent and all of that. But I think it also, if you advertise something in a showcase, I believe that counts as advertising. Like players bought, as you said, consoles based on what was presented, and then to just lose that because like, it's just not working out. That just sucks. It's just bad. I still think that Xbox has a ton of stuff. I mean, it's why people being like, oh, this is another example, Xbox is dying. It's like, no, actually Xbox, part of the reason this is frustrating is because Xbox is doing much better than they have in a while. Like they're doing quite well. And they're just being very, very cutthroat about all of this. It's just the way the world turns with, these big corporations. But I think, they're not dying. They're just changing. They're shifting priorities. But I do think that the long-term effect of the new policy goals is just going to be these games cannot get caught in development hell. And the understanding is going to be within Microsoft Studios and Xbox Studios that if your game gets caught in development hell, it's probably canceled and you're all losing your jobs. So you better not screw up. No dilly-dallying. And that's part of this is like an example of that. Games, I think that ZeniMax project was in development for like 7 years and they wanted another 3. They started in like 2018 on that. And I mean, at some point, 10 years of development just doesn't make sense. Like the game could have been really good in 2018.
But that studio still did Elder Scrolls Online. Like I do think it is important, and that is what I am afraid that what we're seeing now will have ramifications for what we're getting in the future. Luckily, we do have the good stories about Expedition 33 coming out of nowhere, new IP. But it does seem that all those big companies, by cutting all the projects that they were placing bets on all these big games, but they don't want to see it through, even though they could do it. Like they have the capacity, they're making their money, they have Elder Scrolls Online. It's not like that did not get any updates to work on this game. No, that's still chugging on. But at one point, you want to try a new thing. And we will never know if that online project was going to be it. But they also are now never going to try. And I'm really afraid that we are going to see that way more moving forward. Where also with what we're talking about with Mafia, if that game doesn't hit, even though, I don't think they got like the budget and the time they maybe needed to make it like a really, really special Mafia game, but they just had to get something out, that it sucks that they will then also be on the cutting block. I mean, we heard that with BioWare as well, with Dragon Age. That started as a single-player game, then a live service game, then a single-player game. I think, actually, how that turned out, pretty still impressive what they were able to make out of that, like very, very crappy development cycle from the looks of it. But yeah, that obviously wasn't enough. So yeah, I'm just afraid that we will be losing a lot of potential hits because they're all going to be placed on safe bets. But even the safe bets, like a Doom the Dark Age, I think that's still the biggest example of why the Microsoft strategy is not working for big games. You cannot launch a Doom game that's probably 100, 200 million and have it be done in a week. We're not talking about it. I'm now saying this game, this name, and you're probably like, oh, that came out a month ago. That's crazy, right? And we even had the May charts here. Elden Ring Night Rain sold more than Doom the Dark Ages, even though that came out like at the end of the month. That's crazy. And I think Doom: The Dark Ages had a way bigger marketing campaign. So at one point, I do think Microsoft really has to, just like every other company, and that's why I think 2K might also be like, yo, we have Borderlands, we have NBA 2K, we're gonna do the sports, like the college thing maybe, we're gonna do GTA, and that's it, man. And we're making profit because we're not trying all the other things. And Microsoft might be like that too, because hey, we're talking about Fallout in a moment, because that is what they should have maybe been doing instead of all these other games.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's going to be a consolidation of funds around the surefire bets and the bets that they think are most marketable. And like, I don't think in 5 years we're going to see a whole lot of like South of Midnight style projects coming out of Xbox Studios. I just don't personally foresee that happening. It's part of like the initial promise of Game Pass was now those types of studios can be emboldened and empowered to make the games they couldn't have made under a traditional pricing model. But that just assumes that Daddy Warbucks throws the money at them to make it, even though it doesn't really make monetary sense. At some point, they turn the faucet of cash off and they say, okay, time to be self-sustaining. Let's figure it out. It's the same thing that happened with Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video. It happened with Netflix, where they had the money faucet going for a long time to fill it up with content. And then they shut the valve off and they say, okay, now sink or swim. This is what we're doing. Figure it out. And I think a lot of those more artsy-fartsy niche projects are the ones that suffer first. And I think games and studios that have struggled to deliver and execute are the ones that are really going to suffer. I think it's why companies like Obsidian seem to be heavily rewarded by Xbox. Say what you will about Obsidian's recent stuff like Avowed or the upcoming Outer Worlds 2. You don't have to love those games, but they are pumping those things out.
Dude,
and there are a lot of people connecting with them. And I think that's what Xbox wants. They want Obsidians. They don't want 5, 6, 7 year dev cycles on a game that's gone in a week.
Yeah.
That being said,
so we can already make the list of the next studios that are gonna go, but let's not do that.
Let's
I
not
think
tempt
it's
fate.
fairly obvious.
Speaking of tempting fate, I'm not sure how to connect that. I was trying to come up with some sort of pivot, some tie. I don't know. Did you hear about the Fallout project speculation rumor thing?
Yeah, I think Jordan Middler, right, from Video Game Chronicle, was on the Friends Per Second podcast, and he said, "Yo, I know about multiple Fallout projects that are in development, and it's one is the one that we all want." I think that was the quote. And then we have Juicehead on Twitter saying that I've heard Fallout 3 Remastered is real and coming. I'm guessing the second one is an Obsidian Fallout game. Both are likely years away. 2027 or later is my current guess. And then we have Jess Gordon from Windows Central saying, "Why not more than 2 games?" Question mark.
Yeah, I think here it is. I'm going to put this on screen just so people can see if they are so intrigued. But yeah, so multiple people saying this is in the works. The Fallout 3 remaster / remake is not a surprise. This was leaked in the same FTC docs that we saw the Obsidian remake or the Oblivion remake mentioned in.
Even Doom was there too.
Yeah.
Doom Year Zero. And yeah, that turned out to be Dark Ages.
Yeah. So the Fallout 3 project we've known about for a long time, and that's very locked in. This Friends Per Second podcast bit was in here where specifically he mentions this. It was funny. It was in the context of Todd Howard retiring because he was saying he thought that Todd doesn't make it to Fallout 5. He thinks he retires after Elder Scrolls 6, which I would be very surprised at. I think like Todd's going to be in his like early to mid 60s when Fallout 5 comes out. So I think he's still got it in it. I think Fallout 5 is his last project. I don't think he does like the next thing. I don't think he does a Starfield.
Don't you think he's gonna do Starfield 2?
Yeah, maybe. He's like, we'll get it right this time. No,
We're
guys,
never gonna get Starfield 2. We're never gonna get
guys,
Starfield 2.
this time it's fun. Yeah.
We're never gonna get Starfield 2.
I don't think so either. But I mean, I personally think he's going to keep going and he sees Fallout 5 through. I don't think he's going to be that old. He's like 54-ish right now. Elder Scrolls 6.
Unless like Elder Scrolls 6 is like a big debacle. Or maybe then he wants to.
Yeah, maybe if
cleanse
it's
his
like
name.
a total triumph and it's like 10 out of 10s across the board, 98 on Metacritic, breaks records. Maybe then he's like, I'm going to ride out off into the sunset. I wouldn't blame him about that. But I thought that, that little tidbit where he's saying like he's going to retire. I was like, I don't think so. But he also was mentioning it in that context because he was saying that they're very far off. He's like, they should have started Fallout 5 after Starfield, and they should have put Elder Scrolls on the back burner because Fallout is hot. The show's doing well. They should have focused on that. Elder Scrolls later. I think that's personally kind of short-sighted because I think Elder Scrolls is way bigger than he's giving it credit. I think Elder Scrolls is massive.
Dude, Oblivion is one of the biggest launches of the year.
Yeah.
Like that launch showed you enough. To be fair though, a Fallout 3 remaster, Shadow Drop would be huge too. But I think they're still on kind of the same level. Now the Fallout show helps, of course, but
I mean, it's either way. It is a response to a problem that I think we all agree is there, which is that Xbox not having anything Fallout related at all right now is shocking. Like they should have something. The fact that the show launched and they had nothing was surprising. So hopefully, knock on wood,
you can fish now in Fallout 76. That's pretty big.
Didn't you see them at Summer Games Fest? Didn't you see that? Yeah, it was an amazing booth. I'm never getting invited to any Xbox thing ever again, for sure. There's no shot. But that being said, I do think that they are working on stuff. That just makes sense. The Fallout 3 thing comes, some people were saying maybe they drop it, this fall. It's like a shadow drop thing again.
They wish.
Yeah.
I hope so, though.
With season 2, maybe.
But they got like the biggest Fallout 76 update ever this year.
Yeah.
They're gonna bank on that, man. They want that 2 billion revenue for Fallout 76 as well. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people playing that game, dude. I mean,
I know they're fishing away, man. They're crazy.
They're catching so many fish. But I do think that we're gonna get more Fallout stuff. But this guy, Juicehead, they're all suggesting that this is very far out. The Fallout 3 project is probably closer. I mean, that's it. Maybe Shadow Drop this year, next year. It's been in the works.
When was that
for
leak? I'm gonna look at that leak.
Like 2021, and I think originally in their like time frame, it was before the Oblivion remake. So at some point, it was further along, I believe, than the Oblivion project. And so
Fallout, 76 was first called Fallout Worlds. That does sound pretty cool. Fallout Worlds.
Maybe they'll rename it.
Kestrel. Wow, projected 2023. That ZeniMax Online game that was projected for 2023.
Off by 5 years.
But Doom the Dark Ages was. Oh wow, they update this as well. This is a brilliant Reddit thread. I'm gonna. Capman Prime. It's like updating when they projected and when they actually launched. So Starfield projected 2021, released September 2023. Redfall 2021. In what state would that game have launched in 2021?
I can't even fathom, dude. Like, it reminds me of that one time we got the leaked emails. I think it was part of the FTC stuff as well. But we got the emails Phil Spencer was sending to the rest of the crew because there was that one year, I think it was mid 21 or 22, where Xbox just literally had nothing for like the entire year. They just had nothing. And Phil sent a pretty strongly worded email to a bunch of people, like to Matt Booty, to I'm blanking on his name. Pete Hines, to like all those people saying you need to get your crap together. Do not tell me a game is coming out in fall of 21 if it's coming out 2 years later. For the love of God, we cannot have a blank space this much. It was very funny. But I think timelines have shifted, things have moved around a lot, but there are Fallout things in the works. And, this is the other thing to remember, and it makes us feel old, but if Fallout 5, let's say Elder Scrolls 6 is 2028, it takes another like 5-6 years to make Fallout 5. That puts it in like mid 2030s. That will put it close, like almost exactly 20 years after the last Fallout game. 20 years. Like, that is a ridiculous amount of time, but that's how long it will have been between 2015 and 2034, 2035.
I really think they should have, when they bought Bethesda, and I know this may be easier said than done, but Avowed should have been an Elder Scrolls game. And Outer Worlds 2 should have been a Fallout game. I think that would have been like a way bigger moment for them. I know the games are not like completely similar, but I do think that would have been like the big money bet. And especially because you don't have something else close to it. Obsidian is capable.
I think that would have fit their broader strategy a lot more. And I mean, Phil can do whatever he wants. If he tells them you're making a Fallout game, they're going to make a Fallout game. And so I think it's very doable. I know some people are like, well, what if they didn't want to? I'm like, tough cookies. Like, Phil is in charge. If he wants to do it, he wants to do it. My guess is that they were just too far along. And so he's like, finish that stuff. And I'm guessing it just makes sense. Think of like the slam dunk it would be to be on stage at the Xbox showcase in 2026 or 2027. And for Phil to come out and be like, and here's the head of Obsidian. And he comes out, yes, we're doing it. And then they play a trailer for Fallout New Vegas 2 or something. Like that, crowd goes wild. The game may end up sucking ass. But that's such like a slam dunk, immediate.
Yeah, but that should have been
melting.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
That moment. That is the thing. It's like, why are we waiting so long when you have all these IP and then you release an Avowed and you're like, oh, 3 million players, but like, did that move the needle in any big way for you in the grand scheme of things? I don't know, man. And then the first like $80 game, it's Outer Worlds 2. It looks good. I really think it's gonna be a really good game. But like, do you want to? And then you also have Clockwork Revolution that, apart from the setting, looks like a very similar game too. So you have multiple franchises that are very, very similar going on at the same time, while we want that other franchise that you cannot deliver on. I don't know if that's like the best strategy, but it's probably way easier or way harder than simply pulling a switch.
Well, I think without a doubt, I mean, the fact that they just didn't even have anything after the Fallout show blew up, I think that just shows that there was a fundamental miscalculation with how popular Fallout was.
Yeah.
I think that's
crazy to me.
They did not think
buy
it was
Bethesda.
that big.
You buy Bethesda.
I think they bought them for
you have
Elder
two
Scrolls
franchises.
6 and Starfield. I think
and
Phil
Starfield is like
Starfield was going to explode. I think he thought that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the console seller. We know how Starfield went. We'll see about Elder Scrolls, but yeah, man, just
Elder Scrolls 6 is huge, but it really depends if it's going to be huge for a month, because like Starfield was huge too when it came out. It was huge. It was really, really big. But
here's a question though, and this is kind of tangential to all of this, but I've been thinking about this. Do you think, so we know Todd said back in like 2015, 16, he's like, yeah, I like doing tighter marketing cycles. I don't like doing long protracted ones because the games change and evolve and, things might get upgraded or downgraded. It's just how video games work. But do you think Phil pushes him to like reveal more about Elder Scrolls 6 earlier than like 6 months out, just so that they have longer to talk about it and like hype it up? Because part of like the whole Game Pass thing is to just keep your subscription, do not cancel. And if you're thinking, oh, because that big game I want is coming down the road, I'll just keep my membership for now. I think that's a component of it.
I mean, I totally think that if Todd wants something and Phil sees for the bigger strategy, whatever, it's better to announce or to give that gameplay trailer at the end of the next showcase or whatever. They're gonna do it, but I don't see why they would next year. Like, that is also with Xbox. They have too many games right now, and they cannot properly focus on all of them, like with Doom Eternal or South of Midnight that got their week. And that studio had been working on the game for 7 years. It's like, For Sony, that's like a huge event. There, you even though if you don't care about the game, you know like the banner changes on their profile, like it's a big event. And Xbox cannot do it because 2 weeks later they got their other game to focus on, and next year they said Forza, right? Um, Fable, they have Gears of War, and they have Halo potentially the one remake. So they got all their big hitters, the Xbox games. That should be the focus. Like they don't need Elder Scrolls in that year. The year after that, you have Clockwork Revolution. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that's maybe in 2027, but I think when they start talking about the next Xbox, that is when they will show Elder Scrolls 6. That's when they will reveal that card, I think.
Specifically frame it that way. That would be interesting. Because I don't know if they've ever communicated or clearly stated if Elder Scrolls 6 is running on Series X and S. What if it's like next gen exclusive?
That would be smart because having it run on Series S with how Starfield is like 30 on that platform.
That would be crazy. But yeah, I don't think they've ever I don't think they've ever said that it's happening. It's happening then.
No. But yeah, I think they're gonna save that for their. But like, do you think like that's my thing with their console strategy and then being a third party publisher? The only thing that will sell consoles is an exclusive. Like even though a lot of like games at the start of generation were cross-gen, PlayStation still had Demon's Souls, for example, as like a game you can only play on PS5 at launch, and then later they had Returnal pretty soon after that, Ratchet and Clank. So they, even though their big hitters were still coming to PS4, they still had you can only play these games on PS5. I really think Xbox has to think of something like that too, right? Otherwise,
so. Yeah, and it has to happen like at day one. I think that's so crucial because like there maybe are some exceptions like Switch with like they had Mario Kart, but then they also have Donkey Kong coming soon after. But I think with like something between Xbox and PlayStation, a lot of people like they make their choice for the generation in those months leading up to the launch of the consoles. So like whoever has the more compelling option, they go that direction. And for Sony, like with the PlayStation 5, they nailed it with those day one exclusives. Specifically Demon's Souls, I thought was a really good console seller. And they could have had some other stuff. I mean, they did a bunch of remasters, remakes, and upgrades and things. But like on Xbox, they had what? Did they have like a Forza game? And I'm trying to remember what Xbox even had.
Rise, Son of Rome, on a different generation.
Rise, yeah. They brought Rise back, yeah.
Xbox Series X launch games. Halo, no, they wanted Halo, but of course that got delayed.
Yeah, that got booted.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Valhalla. Hold on, I have it.
Valhalla.
I have it.
I mean, that was like a. Oh my god, I don't think they had anything. Forza Horizon 4, but that was like a series. Gears 5, like those were like games that were already out. Did they not have like a launch game? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, it's just like I remember it was like a solid piece of hardware, and you can play the games you used to play on it, but that's just not that exciting, you know? It's especially if you're choosing between that and the PlayStation 6 that has games that you can't get. Like, we're not saying, to be clear, guys, we're not saying that we like exclusives existing. We're just saying if you want to convince people to buy your console over the other one, day one having a like game of the year contender on the platform and not on the other one, that swings a lot of people's purchasing choice over that direction.
Yeah, you would think they sacrifice one of their games, right, to be an Xbox only game.
Yeah, I would think so.
Perfect Dark would have
at least for a while. I mean, they did it with like Indiana Jones, where they did timed exclusivity for whatever that was, like 3 months or something like that, or a month.
Yeah, a little longer.
3-4
Yeah,
months.
it was December's when it came out for Xbox and PC, and like in April for PlayStation, so like 4 months.
Yeah. So maybe they do something like that, where they're like, yeah, it's available. Elder Scrolls 6 available on
they are
Xbox.
Do Elder Scrolls 6. That would be sick. That would be sick.
No, I think that prints so much money.
They're gonna tank it. Yeah, no. They would tank it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I'm thinking like, yeah, but you would think they will have some. But I mean, people are saying like the hardware, they're giving up on that, and they said they're still doing at least one box, and um, but it's still, I talked about the U.S. sales, right, with Elden Ring being number one and Doom number two, even though Doom came out like a few weeks prior. The hardware sales for PS5 were up year over year, 2% in the US in May. Xbox down 30%. But at one point, it's like, if you're down every year, like that's crazy. It's the amount loss is not even that much anymore, because and US is the Xbox country.
Yeah.
So it's wild. It's wild. But they're trying it again. Like Steam, of course, being on that platform is maybe what they're going to do. But I do think they need a game. But on the other hand, are people really gonna switch over?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, to be very clear, the Xbox Play Anywhere policy, I think that's really like a pro consumer. It's a good policy to have, to be able to buy a copy of the game on your PC and you can play it on your handheld, you can play it on your console, cloud saves across the board. That's awesome. Like even playing through the cloud on xCloud, you can get it available everywhere.
In the bathtub.
In the bathtub. Yeah. Like that is a good policy. I love that. I really like it. It's why I've said, like, if PlayStation wants to have their own launcher on PC to cut Steam out of it for PC launches, they just need to do like a Play Anywhere option. You buy the game on PlayStation 5 and you get access to it on your PC without having to buy additionally. That, I think, would be a good enough perk that people would kind of shrug and not mind as much. Maybe still sell it on Steam if they really, really want it. But I mean, even if they didn't, I think that would be compelling. The Play Anywhere policy, I think, is really, really good. And they said that that's one thing that they're doubling down on. And then they're also doubling down on, of course, like play any game on any platform. Like it's just totally open-ended. You want to play Steam games on your Xbox handheld thing, you can do that. You want to play Steam games maybe on your next gen console, you can do that. Like they just want to be the ultimate hub of games, be the platform. Yeah. And
because I see people here say, like, what kind of margins are they pulling with consoles? What I think, and what you're alluding to too, the hub is very important, because the moment you're playing on PlayStation, you are not seeing the Game Pass advertisements or what they are doing when the Hellblade 2 or any other big Xbox game comes out. You boot up your Xbox, it's like boom in your face. They got the control over that hub, and that is very important. Not to mention that they get 30% of all the money from games you buy on their digital storefront. So that is, of course, that's why all these console makers want to get the console in your house. And like I think it's crazy that they're kind of okay with losing that, even though that is what is helping Sony make so much money on PS5 right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another component of it too to just remember is that Microsoft owns Xbox. Microsoft owns Windows. A lot of these like handheld devices, PC devices, they're all Windows devices. So to a certain extent, I wouldn't be surprised if Satya and his team, they look at it and they're like, if people sell their Xboxes to get PCs, we still are selling a Windows license to them. We still own the platform they are on. Like, we can still try to get to those customers through Xbox Play Anywhere and those platforms, but it's not the end of the world if somebody plays a PC handheld and buys their games through that storefront versus this one or that one. Like, either way, they still run the platform, you know? I see somebody mentioning they're going to try to buy Valve and Steam. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they already have. I know there's been rumors they've tried to in the past. The problem is Lord Gabe, is freakishly wealthy. Steam cash flows like a mofo, and
how many employees do they have? Like they not like that this a lot, right? That's not even.
I don't think they even have that many. Like Valve has the most profit generated per employee of like any company on planet Earth. It's like ridiculous how much money each employee represents, like millions of dollars. But It's because like they get a 30% cut of every single copy that goes through the store, and it's pretty much built up. So they do maintenance, they do security updates, like they do that stuff, of course. But it's just a cash cow. Like it's just good. So yeah, Microsoft could come along and be like, hey, you're worth 8 billion. We'll pay you 10. Gabe is like on his giga yacht, just being like with his martini. I'm good. I'm cool. Like you get to a certain point when you have billions of dollars where an extra billion frankly doesn't matter that much. It's not going to change his life at all. So even if they came and said, hey, we'll give you 20 billion, that's not really going to change his life at all. So for him, as somebody that really believes in Steam and like Valve as a company and as a platform, which Gabe by all metrics does really value it as a matter of principle, I just don't see him ever selling because he doesn't need to. He doesn't want to.
And if I'm happy that Microsoft doesn't have them. Like, I think Valve is really like, yeah, like that's their biggest competition in the PC space, obviously, and it's good. Like that's of course with the layoffs, Microsoft buying everyone is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's consolidation is it ultimately does a lot more harm than good, especially for the consumer. You don't know how billionaires think. I mean, I know. I think one of the billionaires I knew is no longer a billionaire. Technically, I think, but I know at least in my life, I've known 2 billionaires and had a good amount of talks with them when I worked in real estate, selling them apartment buildings and stuff. And like there's this boogeyman interpretation of a lot of billionaires. More of them than you would think are just like old dudes who founded a business that made a ton of money, and now they just have shares in this thing that makes them on paper worth a crap ton of money, but they're pretty chill. Like one of the richest people I ever met, we brought a bottle of wine to a party, like an $18 bottle of Cabernet. Like not even a crazy nice bottle of wine, just like an $18 bottle of wine. We brought it. He tasted it, loved it. And then he looked up what the bottle was, and he got actually upset that we spent that much on a bottle of wine. He was like actually upset with us. He's like, I get my boxed wine and now it's not going to taste as good because I've tried that. Like, it sounds like a joke, but he was actually upset that we had gotten him to taste the forbidden fruit of an $18 bottle of wine. This was a guy whose house had an elevator in it. Okay. Like, he was fine. He was doing okay. It's crazy, you know?
I still loved how with Summer Game Fest there were of course Half-Life 3 rumors. People were like stalking Gabe's cruise ship, and they were like, "Oh, he's moving from San Francisco to LA. He's arriving just in time for Summer Game Fest."
Yep. I remember we were looking at it because we were in LA and we're seeing it. And we're like, oh, here's his yacht, because you can track it. All of it's tracked across the board.
Yeah, all
the
yachts
this
are crashed.
photo.
Yeah.
Like this is Gabe when he gets the call from Xbox. Hey, can we buy Steam? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? No.
Yeah, what Succession scene is this?
Like he is just the ultimate like, no, I'm good. Oh God,
crazy.
Look at that. Oh, to live on a yacht and go to these places. Look at that. That's unbelievable. Crazy. I'm jealous. Anyway, enough about yachts we could never afford.
Yeah, I think we...
I don't have Jor Raptor money. I could never afford that, you know?
But you are going to China, though.
Yes, I am going to China.
Would have loved to be there too, but I'm sending Dennis. He has not been to China. I was there actually last year on a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to fight the things, and Phantom Blade Zero is awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. We're going and going to preview some Phantom Blade Zero and check it out. Should be very, very interesting to get to talk to the devs and everything, and go to a place that's very, very different from Colorado.
To be fair, I thought China was great when I went there. I've not been to Beijing where the event is, but I was really surprised by how nice the people were, and how also kind of Western it still felt.
Was
Weirdly
the
enough,
language barrier a big problem?
kind of. But there are people that do speak English, but not everyone. But there are a lot of people are like, "Welcome, welcome," like, because they don't see Western people that often.
Hmm.
And you would only see like a few a day, and then you would look at them and like, whoa, and this is an interesting experience. No, but they're very nice. The 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 like the hospitality is really really good. So yeah, it was really one of the best like places I went to. Like yeah, it's crazy how big these cities are and how many people live there, and how cool they still have the temples inside the cities. And yeah, it's really great. It's really cool.
It'll be interesting. We may try to stream, or I don't know about stream. We'll see how the connections are. But we'll vlog it, get some of that stuff going.
Oh, cool, man.
So
Yeah.
it should be very interesting. Should be very interesting. Real quick, super chat from JD. Thank you for that. The reason to buy Xbox is hardware and pricing variety, play anywhere, quick resume, FPS boost, smart delivery, Game Pass, and backwards compatibility. Yes, and all of that's awesome,
And on PC as well.
and on PC as well. But ultimately, games are what decide it. Like, you can have a $5,000 gaming PC, but if you don't have Steam to get games, it doesn't mean a whole lot. So you have to have the games at the end of the day. And I think right now the concern is just Xbox's management, with Microsoft kind of overseeing it. Their management of their teams is worrisome, because it doesn't seem like it's going to be that conducive to quality products consistently. But, time will tell. Time will tell. Because all of
Yeah,
these
but
changes and things happening take years to kind of develop.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Xbox has done so many great things, and that's why I think it's kind of sad that they are, yeah, kind of forced to, yeah, put less effort into their console business because, like you said, consolidation is bad for the consumer. Like, not having an Xbox is bad for us as well because then PlayStation is the king of the, yeah, more hardcore gamer, with Nintendo of course being more casual. And having that competition was great. Like backwards compatibility that Xbox introduced, that forced Sony to kind of be like, okay, how are we gonna get those PS3 games working, right? If Xbox never did it, yeah, it was not the norm, and yeah, you could not get that experience at the competition. So why would Sony bother to invest in that? Obviously, they made it like a big PS Plus tier now, but yeah, it just sucks. I think overall, also, of course, the crossplay was also something Sony did not want to do, but because Xbox was doing it with PC, they kind of looked bad for not having that in their games. People were getting angry, and yeah, so it is kind of sad that Xbox is getting less, yeah, prominent in the console space at least. But for the consumers, it is nice on PlayStation getting those games, Forza, Gears, like. I've not I've played some Gears games, but I missed the first one because I was on PlayStation and on the GameCube. So or like Wii GameCube, yeah.
Now it's time to get back into it.
Yeah.
It's time. Ms. and Isle, thank you for the 5 to wrap us up. Hey again, bros. Jor, I'm getting a PlayStation to play Stellar Blade now. You've convinced me. I've heard Stellar Blade's really good in the bathtub too. I heard it plays even better. There's something about the water affects the system. I don't know.
No comment. No, but great that you're getting Stellar Blade. It's a great action game, has very good characters and story and graphics.
Yeah. Big graphics. Huge graphics. It's great. Well, do you have any closing thoughts, Mr. Jor, before we wrap this up?
No. Not really. I think we covered the big. Like usually the summer's kind of dry, but even though it's very sad news, I do think it's an interesting time in the industry. Even though, yeah, a lot of moving parts still. You would have hoped that the layoffs would have kind of stopped last year when they hit the peak, but we're still going, sadly. And yeah, we're kind of figuring out what this new era will be for kind of the bubble that we are in, the console AAA single player type games that we like. Luckily, there are still a lot of games coming. I'm right now kind of looking forward to Wu Chang maybe, maybe giving that a try. And yeah, apart from that, August is gonna get crazy. We get the Ghost of Yote State of Play, of course, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Really, really excited for that. If you listen to this later or watch it later, it might have already happened. But finally, we get to see that teaser from a month ago that still rubbed me the wrong way.
Teaser. Dude, that
Oh
was,
my God.
we can all agree, Xbox fan, PlayStation fans, PC fans, whatever, that was stupid as hell.
That was crazy.
That was so dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, anyway, JD, to wrap us out, those features are not available on PC Quick Resume or others don't exist there yet. The Windows Store has had massive improvement in the last 18 months. It's getting there. The Xbox app still runs like ass for me. I can't even tell you how many times I have to Alt F4 out of it to get it working properly. Downloads, you'll hit start download and it will just sit there for 15 minutes and do nothing. It still needs a lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the other features like Quick Resume, that's obviously like a hardware constraint. So if your PC doesn't somehow support that, like it just wouldn't work. So
I love that feature though, man. I'm surprised. Like I sometimes have not hooked up my Xbox in 6 months. I boot it up and I'm like, what planet on Starfield am I on? Like I immediately jump into the game. It's
really
impressive.
cool. I don't know why they can't just have like some folder in an M.2 SSD that's just set aside for that data to just like Quick Resume. And then even after PC restarts, you'd think it would be doable to hop back in. But obviously there's got to be some component of it that's for smarter people than me that I just don't see. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching and hanging out. You guys have a fantastic rest of your week.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.